Our top story, as you might already be aware, Rishi Sunak became UK's Prime Minister on Monday, replacing his once leadership rival Liz Truss as the country faces a severe economic crisis. Now, Sunak enjoyed the support of over 50% of Conservative MPs, while his rival Penny Mordaunt had received support of only around 25 MPs. Now, when it comes to what there is to celebrate, in the history of the UK, Sunak has scripted a record by becoming the first Prime Minister of non-British origin to assume the highest office in the UK. He'll also be, as we just told you, the youngest Prime Minister in modern history. At the same time, he's warned that big economic challenges lie ahead for his country. We'll talk in a few moments about his legacy and what there is to look forward to. First, take a look at what he had to say.
I'd like to pay tribute to Liz Truss for her dedicated public service to the country. She has led with dignity and grace through a time of great change and under exceptionally difficult circumstances, both at home and abroad. I am humbled and honoured to have the support of my parliamentary colleagues and to be elected as leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party. It is the greatest privilege of my life to be able to serve the party I love and give back to the country I owe so much to. The United Kingdom is a great country, but there is no doubt we face a profound economic challenge. We now need stability and unity, and I will make it my utmost priority to bring our party and our country together, because that is the only way we will overcome the challenges we face and build a better, more prosperous future for our children and our grandchildren. I pledge that I will serve you with integrity and humility, and I will work day in, day out to deliver for the British people.
It's so very tempting to read sweet symbolism into this historic day, and historic it is, even though we use that word historic a bit loosely. But to think of this, that someone of Indian origin is now the Prime Minister of Britain. A lot of us find ourselves saying this to ourselves again and again, just to remind ourselves that it is true. It is quite extraordinary. Think of the Parliament here. Think of this British flag here. How many centuries it flew over India. And through the days of the East India Company as well, when the company's rules were made by Parliament here, its mandate, its powers, its limitations and its rules were set by Parliament here. The trading terms were set by Parliament here. And of course, the Treasury got a lot of money by way of taxation out of its business activities and trading activities in India. And then on, after 1857, the direct rule, one act after another, one rule after another for administering India was made through Parliament here, directly or indirectly. In any case, anything of consequence had to be approved by Parliament. Generations of Indians grew up over centuries knowing no other world and knowing no other way to be. And now we see this change, and this change, of course, comes after a long fight and long struggle by Indians against this Parliament here. We had the whole independence movement, Lala Lajpat Rai, then Gandhi, then the advances and the successes step by step, the Morley Minto reforms that did not reform very much, then the brutal Rowlatt Act 10 years later, then Churchill, who resisted any independence for India. And after all that, we come to a day like this. An Indian and someone of Indian origin becomes Prime Minister of Britain to set rules for this country from Parliament here, to lead this country around the world. But that sweet symbolism, tempting as it is, does have to stop somewhere. We have to see, of course, and we will. Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister for Britain. He is not in it with any commitment to India, and in fact, on the contrary. We've seen evidence of this through the hustings when he spoke about illegal migrants. He meant migrants really from India who have overstayed in Britain. There was an agreement between Britain and India that India should take back some of these. That has not gone very far because first, it's not easy to identify who all these people are. Second, it's not easy also to uproot people who have been here for years and years, who have children growing up here, going to school. And these are issues that have led to delays. But Rishi Sunak has pledged a hard line on this. Certainly, he also would link this, as he said, to the free trade agreement being negotiated with India. So on these issues, we can expect a very hard stand from Rishi Sunak against India. If not against India, then at the very least to secure advantages for Britain rather than concede any to India. So this Indian origin flag that we are waving with so much enthusiasm will have to have its limits. It doesn't go beyond a point. But notwithstanding all that, despite all that, and despite the fact that he will, of course, look after Britain's interest, even if that means going and taking a stand against India's interest, we still cannot resist the symbolism of the day that someone of Indian origin is now the Prime Minister of Britain. Whatever follows, this is historic, it is most remarkable.
All right, let's start our day with going over to my colleague Abhishek Jha for a lot more in terms of context when it comes to this story. We'll go over to him with the first question. Abhishek, our audiences might already know Liz Truss, the previous Prime Minister, had introduced a mini budget that almost pushed the UK into a financial meltdown. What is the plan? What has Rishi Sunak said is the plan when it comes to lifting the UK out of its current status?
So Rishi Sunak's plan is that he will first have the priority to contain the inflation and rising cost of living. This was the priority of Rishi Sunak, and then maybe at a very staggered level, he will go for the tax reduction, which will be 19% and 20%, 16% over the period of 2 to 3 years. What Liz Truss do and did not work and sort of backfired was she started with the tax cuts, almost $45 billion worth, and that did not have the market did not have the capacity to absorb that much of reduction, and it started the government bonds started having a higher yielding, and it was said that, and it was predicted that there is a step in which direction UK was progressing, that it could default on bonds. So in that way, Rishi Sunak is and we know that Liz Truss had to reverse all his decisions. So with the start, the UK is currently dealing with almost the same policies that Rishi Sunak was having when he was the finance minister back when the Boris Johnson government had fell. Remember, Rishi Sunak was the first person who had resigned, and after that, the slew of resignations from the cabinet forced Boris Johnson to resign from the premiership. And Rishi Sunak has been at the post. Majorly, what UK is currently dealing is the financial problems, and Rishi Sunak has been credited with dealing with it and is steering UK clear of all the financial woes during the COVID period. The current challenges he's having is how to ensure that people can afford the energy bills because of the international commodity markets and rising fuel prices. Energy prices are rising. Real estate cost is high in UK, and the rentals have gone up. Inflation in food market is high, and these are the day-to-day life that is impacting people of UK. And Rishi Sunak will have the first priority to address these issues, and maybe the longer economic aspect of UK will be decided in course of time.
Okay, Abhishek, I also just want to provide our audiences with a balanced picture here. So if you could tell me, I know there has been some criticism when it comes to some of Sunak's plans. There was much discussion over possibly cutting worker wages and support for public services. Could you walk us through more of the criticism that we've seen in the last few weeks, and also tell us how Sunak has addressed it?
So clearly, what the UK is currently having is mostly the policies that were during the period of Boris Johnson. So in a way, people are also saying that the current crisis, the rising cost of rising cost of living, or the worker wages issue that you talked, are mostly because of the policies of Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak when they were in power in summer. So to get the UK out of those crises is something that Rishi Sunak is going to prioritize right now. However, there has been a lot of international, geopolitical, and geoeconomic changes in the last few months, which has also impacted not only UK but other parts of the global economy. Also, that includes supply chain disruption, higher food prices, higher fertilizer prices, higher commodity prices, including prices of fuel and energy, because there was a lot of dependence of Russian oil and gas into the international market, which would have pacified the prices which are rising currently, and which is also going to have a very serious impact on everybody's life because of the approaching winter, when the energy prices will be high and the consumption will also be high, and the energy bills will have substantial budget of a family eaten up during those next 4 months. So that is one priority that Rishi Sunak will have to address. And at the same time, he also has some foreign trade agreement, a free trade agreement in his pipeline. One is with the United States. Liz Truss was also negotiating a very ambitious free trade agreement with India. So how those concerns will be addressed, and FTA, which is believed to be at a very advanced stage between UK and India, but there are certain roadblocks that includes mobility of people, that includes costs and taxes on the British Scotch and other major commodity that Britain wants to have access to Indian market, but Indian goods, if they also get UK's market available and access, how will it impact UK's market? So these are the little concerns that UK and India are currently negotiating at. So we'll have to see how those FTA agreements is. In fact, the agreement with Ireland is also in pipeline. So these are 2-3 major foreign trade agreement. If Rishi Sunak gets through these in the next few months, it will surely help UK build on the bilateral economic trade ties with these major economies, and probably it also helps UK's market.
Abhishek, thank you for that context. For our audiences, I now want to walk you through reactions that have come in from residents within the UK to Sunak's appointment. Take a look.
First time a person of Punjabi descent and a person of colour to ascend to the office of Prime Minister. So it's good to see. It's signs of things to come, and it's just a sign of 21st century Britain, where it doesn't matter what background you're from now, that you can rise up the ranks to the positions of power. I think given the crisis now, what people really want to see is just strong, stable leadership with integrity, focusing on the things that matter now. The last few weeks and months have been wasted. People have fallen further into poverty, have fallen further into hardship because of the lack of action, because of the chaos in Westminster. So regardless of him being a Tory or not, it's just people just want to see action being taken, decision being made, policy being implemented to solve the challenges and the problems that we're all facing.
I think the community has always been very open. They might have been in the past very partisan to Labour, but increasingly as society has realised the challenges the country faces, there's sometimes not much to choose between the parties itself. But in Rishi, after the chaotic period that we've had over the last few months, I really hope that he feels for the common man and woman in the country and brings together policies that unify not just the party, but the country itself. And that's definitely going to be a winner if he can manage to do that.
Really excited that he's our Prime Minister, because he's our first brown Indian Prime Minister, and I really hope that he'll help us with the cost of living crisis.
Yeah, I do feel proud, but it's not because only that he is from Indian origin, but because he's a real good man, and I believe he'll work hard for everyone, and he'll take Britain to great heights.
So someone who comes out there shouldn't be just because it's my party or my country or my nationality. It's more about, is the person right for the job? Is that person really going to make a difference? And the only thing about Rishi specifically, since you've asked, I would mention that, he's been there for a while. I think he's been through the roughest times, especially COVID. And he did implement certain things at that point of time, which were like the furlough scheme, that special scheme I remember for the restaurants to do business, which were a tremendous success. And
uncertainty of a lot of things that are happening, it might help the country in getting to a higher position. And I feel that the whole Asian community has that trust on him.
We're moving now to what is going to be our top story through the day. If you're a resident in the Delhi NCR region, as we are, this is where our studios are located, you woke up today morning and last night to the sound of firecrackers perhaps across the city. Delhi has been struggling with the issue of clean air as it does every Diwali. Yesterday afternoon, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal defended the situation in the capital. He tweeted out that the capital was not among the 10 most polluted cities. He also shared data to show that over the years, the pollution concentration had been decreasing due to the constant efforts of Delhiites. Now, this is all while, you'll remember a few days ago, the Delhi Environment Minister did ban the bursting of crackers. Yesterday, however, as you and I might have both been aware, there were residents who were bursting crackers across the city. Delhi's air quality index hit the very poor category late last night, with the AQI in the 377 range as we speak. Now, we'll bring you more details of what the situation is as we speak right now. But first, I want to take you to the politics around this. Take a look.
इस तरह की बातें कर अगर दिल्ली में कोई प्रदूषण की समस्या का कोई समाधान हुआ है और उसमें थोड़ी बहुत भी राहत मिली है, तो केजरीवाल जी ये ना समझे कि वो उन्होंने किया है। केंद्र सरकार के समुचित प्रयास हुए हैं। पिछले कई महीनों से केंद्रीय पर्यावरण मंत्रालय के द्वारा दिल्ली के अंदर PM10 और PM 2.5 कंट्रोल में रहे, इसके लिए उन्होंने बहुत सारे नियम लागू किए हैं।
Even as Mr. Kejriwal is patting his own back on pollution in Delhi, he must be reminded that in several parts of the city, even before Diwali has truly arrived and before crackers have been burst, the air quality index in Delhi in the last 9 days has dipped to almost 340, in some cases almost to 400. What was done to control the stubble burning, which Mr. Kejriwal till last year and last year blamed as the main cause of pollution in Delhi? His attempt is to blame all the pollution woes on firecrackers burst by Hindus and on Diwali, and to demonize Diwali and firecrackers.
All right, we have some breaking news when it comes to the AQI story. Delhi's air quality index is presently in the 323 region, which means it's very poor. Not only that, according to some data, Delhi is the most polluted city in the world. The air quality dropped early in the morning this morning. My colleague Shireen Elizabeth is with us live right now at India Gate to bring us a lot more in terms of context. Shireen, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Shireen, as we can see right now, you're outside India Gate. You're in the center of the city as we speak. Could you bring us more information, A, on the air quality as it stands this morning? Then question B, could you bring us a comparison of where it stands in relation to the previous years?
Good morning, Toya. Yes, I'm right now reporting right in front from the India Gate, and you can see, though compared to the last year, we are seeing that there is smog. There is no doubt that there is in fact smog surrounding the India Gate, but there is very less as compared to the past few years. Now, as you asked, that if I compare the air quality index of 2021, 2020 and 2019, for past 3 years, a day after Diwali, the air quality index has always slipped into the severe category. For example, in 2021, the AQI, the PM 2.5 was in fact around 463. In 2020, it was around 430. And in 2019, it was around 390. So today, if we actually look into the AQI, it is in fact slipped into very poor category in last 24 hours. Yes, yesterday while I was reporting from here, it was in the poor category, but today it has slipped into very poor category. But comparatively, it is much better than past 3 years. If I ask my camera person to zoom in and show you, This is the Delhi overall. It is about 323 AQI PM 2.5, which is in very poor category. In Pusa Road, it is again in very poor category, 322. In Lodi Road, it is 273 in poor category. But compared to past few years, as you asked, it is much better. Though we have seen how there was in fact bursting of crackers yesterday in majority of the parts in the national capital, in spite of the fact how there is in fact punishment that has been in place. There is going to be if one is caught bursting crackers, they are going to be in prison for 6 months. Apart from that, there is a fine also that needs to be paid. But even then, there was bursting of crackers that was witnessed yesterday. But if you see overall, we are seeing in fact a bit of a clean air, though the category has slipped into very poor category compared to yesterday. But for past few years, it is still better is what we have been seeing. But also the experts have been saying the reason why we are seeing a better air today is also because there is a wind. In coming days, when the temperature will dip, when it will be much more colder, there will in fact be a stagnance in the wind, and the accumulation of the air bad quality is only going to increase, and then the situation might get worse. But a day after Diwali, every year we have seen how the situation had gotten worse. This time as well, it has slipped into very poor category, but compared to last 3 years, much better is what Delhi has performed.
Shireen, would you at all be able to share with us numbers when it comes to what the previous years, not numbers themselves, but right now, as you were saying, it is in the very poor category. Our audiences do have some understanding of poor, very poor and hazardous, for example. Do we know which categories it's been in the last few years?
Well, in 2021, it in fact slipped into 463. A day after Diwali is what we are talking about. So that was severe. Because between PM 2.5, when it is between the AQI is between 300 and 400, it is in very poor category. Right now, Delhi air quality index is very poor category. But in 2021, it was 463. In 2020, it was in 450. So that was also a severe category. In 2019, it was around 350, which was around very poor category. So the past 2 years, we have seen a day after Diwali, it has always been severe. But this time, it is in fact resting at very poor quality, air quality index.
Shireen, thank you for those details. Stay with us. For our audiences, politics on this has started. Let's move very quickly to this breaking news that we've got. BJP spokesperson Amit Malviya has taken on the Aam Aadmi Party Sarkar. He's uploaded images of crackers in the air saying Delhiites are burning firecrackers with full. Kejriwal's ministry had threatened to put those who burn firecrackers in jail. Where is Kejriwal, who is trying to implement this? Is there any prison that can accommodate so many people? Let's go back to my colleague Shireen right now to understand more. Shireen, you just told us a few minutes ago, and our audiences are aware, that the Delhi Environment Minister had announced that there would be a 6-month possible jail term. Right now, do we have any reports of any arrests taking place across the city yesterday?
Well, Toya, we have to wait for the Delhi police to in fact release the record as of how many people they have in fact arrested, if they have, how many people were fined. These are all details that need to come from Delhi police at the moment. As of now, there is no record that has come yet. But we have seen how there has been in fact bursting of firecrackers in majority of the parts in Delhi, be it South or North Delhi or the West Delhi. We have seen that after 9 p.m., the intensity of the firecrackers has only intensified, it only increased clearly. And since in fact it was only after 9 p.m. when the air quality index slipped from poor quality to very poor quality. So clearly we have to wait for a record whether there was in fact arrest or fine that was in fact levied on people who were bursting crackers. And the blame game in fact even today it continues. But the fact of the matter is that it is not just the firecrackers that is the factor of the air pollution. There are multiple factors that need to be kept in mind, is what the experts have been saying. Today we are seeing a bit of a clean air in past 2 years is also because we have seen that the wind is there. Once it gets accumulated or the wind stops, if the temperature dips, the situation will get worse, is what the experts have been suggesting. But firecrackers are not just a factor for the pollution in Delhi. There are vehicular emission, the stubble burning that we are seeing in the neighbor states. That is also one of the points where both the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party party has in fact been slamming each other. The BJP has been saying that the Punjab government continues with their stubble burning, whereas the Aam Aadmi Party has been blaming the Haryana government for the stubble burning. So there are number of factors, and all these need to be brought down. There had to be a joint effort, not just from the state government but also from the central government. Then only we'll see a better air quality index in the national capital.
Okay, Shireen, before we go over to some of the political voices we'll possibly have joining us later on the day, I just want you to give us a lot more context here. Shed a light on what the factors are that create pollution across the city. I know that the percentage of those factors changes. For example, crop fires might not be such a large cause in the beginning of October, but they increase into the late of October and into the beginning of November. And then the amount of responsibility for the pollution also increases. So just like that, if you could tell us the multiple factors that lead to the buildup of pollution in our city.
Well, if you remember, it was only 2 years back when the IIT had released a report on the pollution, and that is, of course, one of the reports that is, in fact, the experts go through time and again. In that report, it clearly said how it is firecrackers is just one of the factors. Apart from that, the vehicular emission, the industrial emission, the pollution that comes from the industries, because Delhi is surrounded by industrial area. Inside as well, we have seen Okhla, Wazirpur area. That is one of the reason. The biomass is also one of the reasons that in fact lead to pollution in the state. Apart from that, the pollution, the dip in the winter, when it comes to winters, the air dip, the quality, that is also one of the factors that in fact lead to the pollution in the national capital. So these are of course factors. Firecracker is also one of the factors, but not the major reason. Stubble burning is one of the major factors, is what the report has also suggested. But we have seen the couple of solutions that has in fact been given to the neighbouring states to ensure to avoid the stubble burning. So these are a few of the factors, and the government has been working on it, both the central and the state government. But on ground, are we seeing the difference is the question that the citizens have been asking.
Okay, Shireen, thank you for that context. For our audiences, I hope that's provided you with an in-depth look of the situation right now in Delhi. We're going into a